This finally talking about payments and banks. But don't worry, this session is about the future of governance. And trust me, the future is never boring. That's exactly what this session, the digital future of governance, citizen-centric services with scalable and secure foundation is about. How to make governance a response simple, reliable for citizens, and to take us deeper. We have a fantastic panel of speakers who are working exactly this. So without further ado, let's get started. So my first question is to Verma, who is the Director of Census Operations and Civil Regulations, Government of India. And in your department, basically, how do technology, technology, how does it integrate with the work you are doing in terms of the census one? Maybe you can just Can I have a mic, please?
So your question is, how does our department and technology work together? So Census, the department that I work for is the Office of Registrar General of India, and it is responsible for three things. It is responsible for census, it is responsible for civil registration of births and deaths, like creating the legal documents, and it is also responsible for citizenship. So we are, of course, most of these things are now digital, whether we are talking about citizenship, data collection, and then issuing certificates, all birth and death certificates, even in states have their own portals. 99.5% of the country is in the digital mode. And this year the census, the upcoming census 26-27 will also be digital. It will be paperless. All the data will be collected online. It will help in faster publication. But a very important principle on which these three things are going to integrate at a higher level is collect once and use many times. So if I give a small example, who requires your birth certificate? The government institutions largely. So the government issues you the birth certificate and then the government asks for it back. So why not build an integrated repository where the data, where the databases can talk to each other and the citizen does not have to produce the certificate for passport, for citizenship, for social welfare payments repeatedly. Several of these models, because they belong to UP, have been piloted in the state of UP. Other states like Karnataka and Rajasthan have their own smaller models. So, in future, I believe whether it is census, whether it is citizenship or civil registration, all of them are going to be integrated. We have a tax model where they don't need a census because their family register, what we call population register in India, is simultaneously organically growing, evolving by every birth and death which occurs. And they have an epidemiology database, so they can tell you all the disease runs in your family. So that is the kind of technology we are talking about in the Department of Office of Registrar General of India in near future.
So I think it's the most needed because the UP being such a huge state and such a diverse state. So technology, I think, so will play a great role in integrating whatever you are talking about. So I'll move to Mittal sir, who is the joint CEO with the Government of Maharashtra. So Maharashtra MITRA platform is making headlines. What lessons can other states learn from your approach to seeing this service in India, sir?
I'll just add on to the points that I've made. So we are trying to do exactly what Aman has just said. So we came up with something called the state data policy just now, and we are just criticizing the state data authority. And the idea behind that is to be able to collect the data and have a single source of truth. So the same data is going to be collected by multiple departments. Luckily, that has been enabled by the amendment with the Aadhaar Act. I think the 2023 amendment, the notification allowed that to be used by multiple departments. So we have in the state taken it as a policy only. So that has been done. So that is one thing that I think most of the states will be doing once this DPDP Act comes into the picture for the personal data protection. There is a lot of confusion of whether the departments can use or cannot use. So I think that clarification will be very much required. And second, obviously, the single source of truth platform. So for that, we are also we are doing a project called Maharashtra, which is essentially about districts as an enablers of growth and data-driven decision making. But how do we do that? Is we have to go to the granularity of the data, and in the long run, to be able to gain useful insights at the level of decision maker. So that is what we are trying to as part of Maharashtra in terms of data. I'll try to also shift towards more technological aspects that we do. A lot of things that we discussed today are also application based. And I think government is now very actively moving towards shifting its applications towards first the IT platforms and then towards some of them being AI enabled. But I think another thing that we are also looking at is where does government come in? Because the government investment in AI will only be a very, very small quantum of the overall investment that will be required in AI, or what's going to happen in India, it's going to happen in the private sector. So the idea is that whenever you are looking at the artificial general intelligence, which is just about to start in the later years of the artificial superintelligence. When computers will start, general intelligence, then computers will start becoming coding themselves, making the rules themselves. And I'm going to tell the core idea of learning of working concept of how do you create the value system in terms of the rules. I think which I've always been thinking, listening about when we talk about the standards for 3G, the standards for 4G, standards for 5G. So in the same way, probably governments will come out with the standards for AI across the country and across the world. So I think that is something that we're trying to look into, but it's at a very infancy stage in terms of what we do with technology. Third thing is obviously service delivery. I think there's not much that needs to be said because a lot of it has already been discussed. All the services are now not only going digital, but it is going to generate so much data, which will create more insights for us to be able to deliver service maybe faster than what we're even imagining at this point of time. So I think these are the major domains in which we look at this in the next few years.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to move to Karishma, who is the Additional Municipal Commissioner and Kumbh Commissioner, Government of Maharashtra. Thanks. So my question is, I'll talk about the Kumbh Mela, the parks first. The large-scale public events like Kumbh Mela are very complex. How do you think that technology can change citizen service delivery in such high-pressure environment?
Good evening. So when specifically for Mela, the challenge becomes of the scale at which we have to implement digital solutions and also who the target audience is. It's not necessarily an urban audience, it's not necessarily an audience that is very comfortable using technology. Nonetheless, we have seen that the last Kumbh in UP saw major use of AI and crowd analytics, which we are planning to follow suit in Maharashtra as well. So we are going to use data in which we are going to use digital governance in which we are not directly collecting data from people because we don't want it to become one extra stage that a person goes through because that is not part of the pilgrim experience. So we are trying to see how we can collect that data non-intrusively. So by using our optical fiber network as a base, then having our CCTV network over that, and using our analytics as the data that is collected passively. Over and above that, we will also have QR-based feedback systems. We are having all of our assets mapped on GIS this time. And any complaint that, this is something we're doing for Nashik city as a whole, and this will also be right by the time Kumbh Mela comes up in 2027, is that any grievance that citizens have, when they put it on the app, it's going to be directly linked to our GIS system, so that when decision makers see on our dashboard, we can see a heat map of which are the areas in which the toilets are not being cleaned or which are the areas in which our roads have potholes. So that when we utilize our resources, we are actually utilizing it in cases where it is improving the citizens' overall ease of living. So, as a district municipal commissioner, and because I have IT, we are working very extensively on ensuring that we don't have multiplicity of data collection, as Ma'am also mentioned, because we are collecting the same data for a tree cutting application, and we are also collecting it when we are making them pay property tax. So, we are using the delivery system that MoHUA already provides called 𝐄𝐲, and we are going to incorporate all 100 different services that we have through just 15 websites which are all linked to each other, so that the data gets to talk to each other and the citizen does not have to refill the data again and again. So this is one thing that I feel if we do right, it is a one-time activity, because over the course of time we have built multiple websites and multiple apps, but we want to do it as a one-time event, which also includes a lot of business process re-engineering. We just don't want to make it digital for the sake of it being digital. So we're going to do an analysis study on what data we are taking from citizens. Is that necessarily needed? Can that still be removed as a whole? And we're taking a proper 1 year timeline to develop this system, so that when we finally have that entire process done, after maybe a year and a half, the citizens of Nashik should not have to be talking to the government all the time. And that is something we will use as a system during Kumbh Mela as well.
Very good. I would like to come to Rohit with the state project advisor in education for government of Gujarat. So my question to you is, education delivery is transforming rapidly. How can digital governance ensure every child benefits equally, especially in rural areas?
So I would like to cite 3 examples. But before that, I would like to thank you, GovConnect and ilouge for having me here. When I was in SSC or in 12th, we got the market which was saying 65 out of 100 in maths, 38 in this, 93 in this. Nobody ever told me that where have I scored and where I have missed. Based on this, we have introduced learning outcome based report card for every exam, for every subject. And in that, instead of saying pass or fail, we have introduced these are the skills for learning outcomes where you have performed well. And our perform well criteria was 50% out of total score for every learning outcome, for every subject, for every child. And then below that we were giving which are the learning outcomes where you have not performed well, where remediation is required. And with that, later we had introduced the remediation link also. So they can straight play, because the child who has not performed well definitely requires a lot of support. And below that, we provide the health parameters, so it is most important for the parents whether the child is a victim of malnutrition or not. So height, weight, BMI, then their reading fluency. So now I am coming to the second initiative. Generally, it is believed that in Gujarat, commerce is most popular subject, and about just 17% students take 11 12 science, and the rest are in general stream. So it was believed that children are really weak in science. When we analyzed the last 5 years SSC board exam data, we came to know that about 35% students compared to science failed in Gujarati. That was real eye-opener. And data analytics had told us this. So we have been, if child is not able to read Gujarati, will not be able to study math, science, social science, anything, because everything is in Gujarati. So we have built oral reading fluency app, where child is to read, and within a fraction of second after that, it was saying how many words missed by a child, how many correct words, and what is the reading speed, correct word is correct per minute, and so on. Immediately a child will come to know where I need to work to improve my language. And now it is available in Hindi, English, and Gujarati, all 3 languages. And we are taking this test every 6 months for every child, and keeping a trajectory. Now, handling this large volume, we are generating about 500 crore data sets. And picking out which is the strongest and which is the poorest learning outcome, without help of AI, it would not have been possible. We have generated about 60 crore report cards by now. In the latest edition, based on AI, in our kit is the early warning system for dropouts. Generally, in government system, what happens? Once child drops out, the figures are published by government media, state will put into a shame, and then state government takes the action, get them back. So rather than that, we have thought prevention is better than cure. So with the help of AI, this year we have predicted based on the attendance, because we take online attendance of every child and teacher. Attendance, exam appearance and performance, socio-economic background, etc. With these filters, we have created one AI program which has told us 196,000 students are at a risk of being dropped out. We have contacted their parents, we have used the local leaders, we have used the SMCs, and then got them back to school. Those who are not regular, we have got them back to school, so they will not drop out. So these are the three classic examples where we have used the AI extensively, and that will strengthen the education system of Gujarat in a meaningful way.
I think that's one of the best things which your department is doing. Prevention, yeah, as you said, prevention is better than cure. Getting those kids and the analytics and everything which you talked about. I think it's the tremendous work which your department is doing to transfer. I would like to come back to the ma'am again. Ma'am, what role do you see data integration playing in shaping citizen services, especially in healthcare, health, welfare, and individual benefits?
I will give you an example. We in health sector in India, we have a database called 𝐂𝐲𝐿. Then now government has also rolled out Aman ID, which is there for every one of us who visits the hospitals. Then there is a third layer that we talk about birth and death registration. And then there is a fourth layer where you use the birth and death registration. Largely it's used for government payments, insurance payments. So in UP, we realize there's a mother and child pregnancy tracking app where they're already collecting all the data, and when a live delivery takes place, they mark it as liability. Otherwise, there is a stillbirth, they mark it as stillbirth. So there can only be 2 organs. So they mark it, and then we realize in the same hospital, they are again collecting the data for birth registration. Whereas the Act says that you can even have a scope of the birth registration. So a very simple intervention was required. We link the 2 apps, the pregnancy tracking apps with the Government of India birth and death registration software. So now the data is pushed, certificate is configured, the registrar only has to sign, and you can give the certificate to the person in whose house the delivery has taken place, the parent of the child, and within like 4 or 5 hours. In addition to this, the data is further pushed for Aadhaar, and based on Aadhaar and birth registration number, that person can also claim the benefit of social welfare payments. Like in most states have some child benefit scheme or family benefit scheme, under which the child gets a benefit to child if your family is under legal category. So that data is also pushed into 𝐿𝐴𝐿, where if a girl child is born, he will be given some kind of financial payment. So 4 different interfaces at which the citizen had to fill a form, the citizen had to produce some documents, some proof, visit some government office, and then those certificates had to be verified back from the government offices. All of this is just a matter of few hours. And this, I am talking about the state like UP, states like Karnataka, Rajasthan, which have had their state family registers running for a much longer time, have even more robust mechanisms because there were old technologies linking various databases. So this is how citizen service delivery is evolving. We do not need the citizen to contact us. If I ask any of you, who is responsible for birth registration? Who is responsible for getting a birth certificate made? You will say the person in whose house the child at birth has taken place. Not so. The hospital in where the birth has taken place the local registrar, even if it is like pending municipal commissioner, the pending municipal commissioner, under the Act is responsible for maintaining a work and death register for every work and death that takes place. The citizen does not have to approach the government anymore, and it is like that for most services. And that is a fundamental shift that is taking place in citizen service delivery. That we are not asking you to come to us anymore. You deserve this, and it better be given to you before you approach us. That is the fundamental shift, and I think that is where technology and interoperability of databases has a very key role to play.
Yes, we have seen that it's like people running to the offices or getting the birth certificate and all the death certificate made, and they ask to make it out. And so I think going digital is the best way to solve this problem. Aman sir, I would like to come to you. So sir, how do you balance innovation with security and privacy when scaling citizen-building platforms at Mittal?
So I think innovation and privacy are very much balanced by the very act itself. So the idea of innovation is that we should be able to provide more and more data, that we should be able to provide more and more granular data sources. So which will then allow you to do more and get some great outputs. So that is how the idea of innovation is. Allow more freedoms so that more new things can come up. Now, in that aspect, the aspect of privacy has been actually integrated because at this point of time, we are at a stage where even a small breach of privacy can lead to very extensive fines. I think DPDP actually put the fines at up to 25 crores for breach of privacy. So, now when we are looking at systems, we are ensuring that the systems are operational, that while we are providing data, the personal information is not reviewed. So, we have anonymizers to ensure that not only your direct information, but even indirect information leading to your private information is not revealed out to the to whoever the data is being shared with. So that is one of the aspects. Second is when you're inputting the data. So one is that you collected the data, but then when you input the data into the data engine or whatever you want to create or business register that you are creating. So at that point of time, there has to be a layer which ensures that there is a check on what type of data, what formats of data, and what data is to be classified as private, especially when it's linked to other data. So even if my name is not revealed, but let's say a particular characteristic of mine in a particular area can bring it back to who I am. So that linkage also should not be done. And in such instances, I guess things like AI will play a very big role because in the long run, as if the data gets silenced, we will not be able to manually check the quality of data, manually check the organization of data. So in that aspect, you will find more and more automatic anonymizers for ensuring data integrity coming up, and that is what we are also trying to get in MITRA. So SDA, the state data authority that we are doing in as part of MITRA, we are formulating the guidelines which will be followed for data collection as well as for ensuring how that data is going to be shared with others. Because we are also in favor of the idea of data monetization, and that is also passed as part of the policy. But data monetization is only based upon two limiting factors. One is you cannot share private information, and second, monetization can only happen when there is a value addition. You cannot just take raw data and sell it to somebody else and say, okay, this is I'm going to monetize that data. So these two aspects are kind of a negative list for ensuring value-added services like or monetization of data that will take place in the so in the near future, we'll find three major things happening. One, higher granularity of data available. Second, automatic anonymizers and automatic filters to ensure good quality data enters into business so that they can then feed into the data catalogs and the micro data catalogs all the GIS catalogs of the state, which will then talk to each other to then show whatever you want to show as a visual representation, because that's an application layer. So that is not too much of a concern for the state, because that is where a lot of private innovations will also come in. And then thirdly will be the compliance with laws with automated means, and then finding different making element to ensure that there is some accountability that means. So that is how that will be created in terms of the guidelines.
Thank you, sir. Karishma ma'am, could you check, at the municipal level, what are the most pressing challenges in making citizen services scalable and sustainable?
So, I think the first thing that had happened is there was a boom of making websites and apps. So now we have a lot of defunct apps, which I think even if a citizen is putting some data into it, we are not really utilizing it. So I think that sanitization of the amount of services that they are giving just for the sake of having it online, that is one challenge. So that is one exercise we are now doing. Secondly, because it happened very haphazardly that there was one problem, let's say hospital registration, we made a website for that. So there are multiple vendors involved, and many of these websites host data on their own servers. So when their tender is completed, the security of that data is a concern, which is a concern in most cities. Which is why now we are trying to slowly phase out multiple vendors and multiple various platforms, and have like a platform which is backed by the union government, and we will use that money to buy our own servers. And luckily, because Nashik was also part of the smart city program, we have some technical people available, and we have some servers that we have bought. So we are trying to strengthen that. And one major challenge I feel in municipal corporations is that we really need to have a strengthened IT team and an IT cell, because we outsource a lot of our key governance initiatives, and when we do that, the security is a major challenge, because we don't know what exactly they are doing with that data. So I think for bigger corporations, let's say in Maharashtra, it might be easier, but for smaller corporations, for them to build things in-house is very difficult, and they will have to outsource. But as Sir said, that if such a state-wide policy is made and how data is collected even by third-party vendors, that will definitely be a way which this challenge can be overcome.
Thank you. Mr. Kumble, from your perspective, what foundations must states build today to make education services resilient and future-ready? From your perspective, what foundations must states build today to make education services resilient and future-ready?
So the answer lies in your question itself. Making a foundation very strong, focusing on foundational learning, foundational literacy and numeracy. Generally, it is believed that the SR report majorly gives the negative remarks to all these states. And I must say that first time ever, they have given very score to 6 states, topped by UP. Because they have worked extensively on the foundational literacy and numeracy. States must invest in technology, because it is said that you cannot put an expert teacher in every school. But one expert teacher can reach to every school from the center. And if we can invest in such good teachers, there are a lot of islands of excellence. But those best practices are not captured and are not spread. Last time, if you remember, I had spoken about the Vidya Samiksha Kendra. So over there, we have deployed about 24 teachers. They are constantly watching how teachers are teaching in the schools of these days. And they are realizing it. And they do capture the best practice and tell it to other teachers. So, sharing having a robust technology to reach out to every remote area child. Luckily, Gujarat has out of say 40,000 government and aided schools, just 872 schools have no connectivity till date. Otherwise, the connectivity penetration is pretty high in Gujarat, and that has helped us. I must share that during COVID, in 2 years, Gujarat was the largest consumer education sector across the globe for Microsoft Teams usage. We had conducted about 25 crore live classes. And the technology was given to us free of cost by Microsoft at the point in time. So our teachers are techno-savvy. You need to invest in teachers to make them techno-savvy, those who are not. Naturally, old like teachers were not pro technology. But we had invested in them, and that has helped us in saving about 16 crore rupees in customized training. Because the report card which I have said, that report card had told us that in particular area the teachers are weak in geometry. Then why would I give the training for entire mathematics? It was taking 7 days, and 7 days students were deprived of the teachers. Instead of that, we have designed the training in such a way using this. So, if you want to be future ready, you need to ensure all stakeholders are future ready. Be it a child, be it a school management committee, middle management, or the top level. Everywhere, the use of technology, use of newer technology is most important. The report card which I have mentioned multiple times, it was a plain paper sheet and now it has so many data. So we have kept on evolving the initiatives. On the click of a button, now we are releasing scholarship to about 16 lakh girls every month. We have introduced various scholarships based on the data. So whatever data we are collecting, we are analyzing and then deciding what is the best investment possible. So that has helped state government to take a lot of decisions. So being future ready doesn't mean that just saying. But using the data productively and proactively is the key to success.
So I'd like to come to the last segment, sir. I'll start with Sheetal. Sheetal, ma'am, if you can just 60-second closing remarks.
So, I would say that because currently I look at demographics, and so far we always thought demography as a field of demography which we just study about, and every once in a while some report is released. We are talking about real-time demographic intelligence here. We are talking those states have their population registers in some form. We are talking about the future in very foreseeable future, where you have real-time demographic intelligence. Who took birth, who died in which family is at risk of which disease, how many people are being born out of the hospital, how many people are able to receive medical attention at the time of death. So this is the future we are talking about, and of course the total overall headcount which we are looking forward to in the digital census for 2027. Thank you so much.
Mansoor, give us 60 seconds of closing remarks. I'm making my job easy actually.
I think the future is essentially about how do we create granular data and to be able to create standards and frameworks for the use of data as well as AI for governance usage.
Ma'am,
I would just say that the digital part of governance is very much the present. It is no longer the future, and we just have to ensure that we as government are reaching at par with the expectations of citizens and to the level at which they have reached with digital technology. So I think right from the head of the office to the final clerk who is working in that particular department needs to be very adept with how technology can be incorporated in that service.
So one irony I would like to share and then let people think about it. If you think of government institutions, government institutions do excel in higher education compared to private institutions across the country. Wherein private institutions excel over government institutions in school education. And the moment we will bridge the gap with the help of technology and with the help of data, then country will excel. Thank you.
So you're absolutely right. So thank you everyone, thank you panelists. With this, we come to the end of the day, and I think so since morning we had some great sessions across AI. We talked about security, we talked about the AI, we talked about the census, we talked about the technology intervention, into municipal corporation, all state of Gujarat is doing in terms of the education system. But innovations they are bringing in. So the objective also of this conclave is we learn from each other. If some states might be doing something very great, which other states can imitate. So it's a we call this as a knowledge sharing platform and a networking platform where there are lots of industry providers also that can support you all in terms of whatever you are doing. And I would like to thank each and every one of you present here and over there in the morning. So with this we come to an end of the day. We would love to see you all in Odisha next. In Bhubaneswar we are doing another digital transformation conclave in November. So I'd like to invite you all on this stage to join us in the 90th edition, which will also have an award. So we do an annual award. We won't do it every year. We do an annual award. So there is a process, there are forms which we collect from everyone. You need to fill those the details, and there is a jury who will sit. Juries are some retired officers, some senior executives. We will be analyzing all those projects, and then we will be announcing winners in this. And I think so we'd love to have all of the foundations also in that 26 awards day. So thank you so much.